Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Esteemed FaceTime with Leaders, an initiative by World Development Corporation. I'm Sunny Pancholi, anchor at World Development Corporation. FaceTime with Leaders is a platform for industry titans to share their experiences, thoughts, ideas, and best practices in order to inspire one another and future leaders. In a nutshell, we attempt to encapsulate the multi-decadal learnings acquired by these industry leaders. We also hope that by conducting these FaceTime with Leaders interviews, we can bring together a global community of eminent personalities. By bringing together such visionaries on one platform, we hope to play a part in inspiring the lives of other leaders. Great learnings from great leaders undoubtedly assist everyone by identifying, nurturing, and using the trade secrets that are proven success formulas for many. And this is what we aim for with these sessions by making them a gathering of industry stalwarts and a knowledge-sharing community. We have one such industry titan on FaceTime with Leaders with us today, Mr. Ronald Kirubakaran. With over 2 decades of experience, he is a business leader with a rich and diverse career spanning multiple industries and domains. Armed with a comprehensive skill set encompassing business expansion, revenue generation, cost management, automation, project management, strategic HR, change management, etc., he has significantly impacted organizations, both large and multinational. He has a career that has touched the consulting, IT, ITES, banking, and manufacturing sectors. At present, he is serving as Global Functional Account Leader at EYGBS India LLP, ensuring seamless services from IBM and driving transformation. Welcome to FaceTime with Leaders, Mr. Ronald.
Thank you. Thank you.
So to begin with, could you sum up your career journey for our viewers, please?
Thanks a lot for this opportunity. And to start with, my dad was a banker. Probably that influenced my choice towards commerce from my school days. So I did my graduation in corporate secretaryship, followed by post-graduation in human resources. And as we know, both company secretary department and HR department are very critical departments in any corporate environment. I started my career as a HR professional with the Murugappa Group, handled different roles in their corporate offices and factories. This is where my HR fundamentals and the value system got embedded. Moved on from that manufacturing organization to a banking organization. I joined the erstwhile ANZ Grindlays Bank, which was subsequently taken over by Standard Chartered Bank. And while being in Standard Chartered Bank, I had the opportunity to start Scope International, which is the back office operations arm of Standard Chartered Bank. To sum it up, these years, I was part of one organization-wide restructuring, which happened in ANZ Grindlays Bank, one takeover when Standard Chartered took over ANZ Grindlays Bank, and one startup, which is the Scope International we are talking about. These foundation and paved way for my subsequent career choices. After 2 short stints in between, I joined the IT major IBM. And this, again, I took a very conscious decision to move away from HR into business operations, handled revenue costing models to determine the affordable headcount, capacity planning, utilization, productivity management, etc. Again, a great amount of learning. And from IT major, which is IBM, I moved into the professional service organization. I joined one of the big fours, EY, to run their shared services business in India. However, a couple of years back, capitalizing on the robust external ecosystem, EY decided to outsource the shared services business to IBM. So currently, I'm the global account leader for a couple of functions, which is managed by IBM. So this has been my career journey, and I'm very happy in terms of the kind of experience I've gained over the last 3 decades.
Mr. Ronald, thank you for the excellent start to this interview, and it's an honor to interact with someone who exudes such a strong corporate personality. Okay, so continuing our conversation, our viewers would like to know, you have a really vast work profile. At any point in your career, have you felt that you have had to step out of your area of excellence?
Oh, yes, without any hesitation and with excitement, I would say that I have felt the need to move away from my area of excellence or expertise few times. Let me just capture those details for you. When my career was going pretty well in human resources space while I was in Standard Chartered Bank, an opportunity in shared services opened up. In early 2000, shared services is something many were not much aware of. However, I grabbed it. I just did not regret that decision. Probably the best learning phase in my career. Again, in IBM, an opportunity in business operations opened up. Took up the challenge, took up the opportunity. Though it was tough initially, learned a lot which helped me to run the shared services business successfully later on. Even in EY, moving away from my expertise area of shared services to an account management and managing global relationship, which is again a very different area. So right across my career, though I started off as an HR professional, I moved from I moved from HR into shared services, into business operations, into running a business. So all these changes have certainly molded me as a better professional.
Okay. So building on that, what advice would you like to give to our viewers, our future leaders in the Indian corporate space?
Right. Opportunities are there, plenty are there in every field. As we know, every field is undergoing rapid changes. The question is, how are we equipping ourselves to adapt to the changes? In my case, I was curious and grabbed new opportunities in uncharted territories. This has molded me and made me ready to the next change or opportunity. So first, be curious. Second, whenever I went into a new zone, things were not easy. Had a steep learning curve. I pushed myself to learn new things and adapt. I had to learn new technology. I had to learn new business, moving from a support function to a line function. So everything was new. Sometimes it kind of really scares you. But I think the secret was I learned the new things and adapted them pretty fast. So the second I would say, be open to learning and adapt fast. Third, persevere. Don't give up. As I said, new areas will be challenging and it will not be easy. And I can encounter so many examples where it was quite a challenging environment. You need to persevere, don't give up, and keep moving forward. So to summarize, probably the three broad areas I would say is be curious, learn and adapt, and finally persevere. Probably these are the three areas I would tell our viewers.
Absolutely. So to all the viewers who are watching us today, I hope you have made a good note of all the 3 points. Okay, let's move on. And my next is on corporate governance. So what has led to your interest in corporate governance?
Okay, as I shared earlier, my curiosity made me to explore new areas and offered me new different career opportunities. The same curiosity enabled me to stumble upon the video of Mr. Heval Mehta, where he spoke about the opportunity in corporate governance by being a board member. I thought about that. I discussed with my family. Then, keeping in mind my education background and the experience which I have, I thought this will be the right time for me to equip myself for this kind of a role. When I look back at my education, it is in the field of corporate secretaryship and human resources. Both have a lot to do with governance. We all know that. Secondly, looking at the type of industry I've been associated with, it's a wide range, starting from a manufacturing organization to a banking or a financial services, to IT-enabled services, to IT organization, and to a professional services organization. In all these organizations, I have witnessed corporate governance taking shape at a very close quarters. I've been part of designing processes that meets the various corporate governance requirement. Thirdly, looking at the various roles I have played over the years, in every role, there was some aspect of corporate governance which had to be implemented, followed, and reported. This exposure and experience is pushing me and has equipped me to look at the contribution I can make at the corporate governance policy and strategy formation level. So this is exactly what is really pushing my interest towards corporate governance in the coming years.
Absolutely. So before we conclude our discussion on corporate governance, I would like to ask you, as a corporate governance expert, what values do you offer to the corporate world?
The needs are many and they are ever changing with the changes in government policies, market condition, competition, stakeholder expectations, community responsibility, ESG requirements, and employee wants. As these keeps changing, the corporate strategy keeps changing. Along with that, governance requirement also keeps changing. This demand we are this demands we are agile in our approach towards corporate strategy and governance. At a high level, there are three stages when it comes to deployment of a corporate strategy or a governance: strategic, tactical, and operational. If we are to bucket them for easy understanding, we can put strategic under thought leadership, while tactical and operations under action leadership. Over the years, I've seen clear gap between thought leadership and action leadership. Gap in terms of not able to operationalize the strategy, or the operations are not meeting the strategy that was called out. This is where my expertise and value comes in. Having been in both sides of the table and using my experience as mentioned earlier, I would love to develop strategy that will meet all and the ever-changing needs. However, we need to ensure that the strategy are agile in nature because we don't have time. We need to be fast. Secondly, designing processes and policies that will reflect the intent of the strategy. And finally, have reports or measurements that will clearly measure how we are featuring against the said policy and strategy. So this is where I'll bring to the table my composite experience ranging over 30 years in building a future-ready organization that everybody will be proud of.
That was really insightful of you, Mr. Ronald. Okay, so let's move ahead and let's talk about technology now, since it has become an integral part of our lives. So our viewers would like to know, what are some of the most remarkable changes you have seen in your field with changes in technology? That is part A. And B is, what changes do you expect to see with the advent of IoT, AI, ML, blockchain, big data, Web 3.0, etc.?
Great question. And interestingly, I started my career at a time when everything was manual, typewriter based. I mean, I'm sure you will recall of those days. We moved from that to a computer age where I, as an individual, need to be comfortable with computer. So I educated myself, I learned about it. And being HR, I also had the responsibility to get the organization ready for the change. It was an interesting journey, interesting phase, giving the comfort to everyone. The next big technology change which I experienced was about implementation of ERPs and working with them. The challenge here was understanding the features of the ERP solution and designing process that are enabled by technology and getting the organization ready to use them effectively. In all these, we created excitement around such solution so that the adoption level is very high. Unless the adoption of new technology is very high, the organization will not be able to reap the kind of benefit the new technology will bring in. The next big change which I experienced was in transitioning work from across the borders using technology. Here, the challenge was aligning the thought process at both ends so that the desired end result is achieved. Process had to be standardized to reap the maximum benefits. Now, obviously, we can't have a very distorted, non-standard process, which will really impact the outcome, or which will not yield the kind of benefit which we're thinking of. And more recently, we all know how COVID came and hit us. Work from home. Many of the organizations were not ready, but how we enhance the technology to deliver what we continue to deliver. But the challenge was, how do we ensure that sitting at home, we ensure that data is secure, network is stable? How do we manage online meetings, online management of service delivery, operations, managing client relationship, and escalations? So that's the change which we saw recently. Today, we are in the age of AI, ML, chat GPT, generative AI. Everything is getting challenged, and it rightfully so. And that is exactly what the intent of these new technologies are. Challenging the status quo so that we can think ahead and think differently. These are here to stay, and it will bring in constructive disruption. It all depends upon how one is going to accept the change and be the change agent. Without acceptance, it will be a challenge to manage the change and be part of the change. As I mentioned earlier, I have seen changes from a typewriter age to a chat GPT or a generative AI. One key lesson I learned: accept the change, learn it early, and be part of the change. Interestingly, none of these technology changes resulted in job losses. This holds true right from the industrial revolution. So whenever it was accepted and adopted, it resulted in career enhancement and enrichment. So I'm looking forward to these changes and how, as a board member, we can foresee these changes, pick the right one, accept and adapt them, and give direction to the organization so that it becomes a future-ready organization always. That's my take in terms of technology and my experience from a typewriter age to a generative AI age.
Rightly said, Mr. Ronald. Perfect. Okay, so this brings us to the last question of the session, and here it is. We are building a community of industry magnates. The move is meant for cross-pollination of knowledge and building a knowledge-sharing community of corporate giants and industry experts. So what are your thoughts about these initiatives taken by Mr. Zishan Pathan, Mr. Heval Mehta, and the whole team of World Development Corporation?
It's a great initiative by Mr. Zishan and Heval. Cross-pollination of ideas and sharing of knowledge is a must in this fast-changing world, because each one will have different experience and different thought process when it comes to these kind of ideas and activities. While as an individual, we realize that their need for cross-pollination and sharing of knowledge, sometimes the desired platform is missing. I think that is exactly what the World Development Corporation is doing, which is great. So when a platform like this is created, the cross-pollination and sharing of knowledge becomes much more easier. It becomes much more systemized, and it will also, like, it will be available on demand. So if I need some information as a board member, I should be able to knock at the doors of my colleagues who are in similar environment and get the ideas or exchange ideas with them. So to me, this is a great initiative, and I'm sure all of us are going to get benefited, as and me being part of World Development Corporation, and the kind of initiative they have taken has really benefited me personally. And I'm sure I'm happy to share it with others whenever the time permits. Thanks a lot, Sunny.
Great, Mr. Ronald. It was fantastic conversing with you, and I'm confident that your insights will inspire the future leaders. Thank you, Mr. Ronald, for joining us today. Wish you the best for your future endeavors. Moreover, trust that this initiative by Directors Institute has unquestionably expanded the participants' understanding and enriched their minds.
Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. It was great interacting with you. I'm looking forward for continued interaction.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.